Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're at. I'm George Guy, and this is The Pull-Up, and thank you for pulling up with me. This is The Pull-Up, where we talk about pulling up on your dreams, your hopes. We believe that everyone has dreams and everybody wants to accomplish them, and what better way to do it than to pull up on them? And so we like to talk to people that are in our communities across the country that have pulled up on their dreams and pulling up on many more. And so what we like to say is that they're change makers, not just in their communities, but they're also throughout the state, throughout the region, throughout the neighborhood. We just want to lift them because we know that some of you out there, you may not be pulling up right now, but you may need to be inspired. And that's what this is all about. So that's what we're here to do today. And this is episode 3. And so we're happy about some of the feedback we've been getting about this show and what this is all about. So come pull up with me. Today, we have a guest in the studio today that I'm going to enjoy the conversation. Angel Suttle is with us today. And hello, Angel.
Hello, George.
How are you?
I'm amazing.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Angel Suttle. So Angel is, there's so many different things I could have wrote about you in terms of when I was getting my notes together. But Suttle Strategies now, Halo Effect, Halo Media, radio personality, entrepreneur, and many people don't know this, model, also scholar, Harvard scholar, mother, just all around. I mean, just everything. I want to say this. I like the fact that, the name, and that is your real name, Angel, and the halo, because I'm about words in terms of what they mean, and what I've seen you do is really illuminate things that you've been a part of. You're talking about AWP, right? You've been a part of so many different things in this community and helping people out. There's a special thing about this, journalist. So that's what I'm saying. There's so many different things about Angel. So why don't you, let's, because what we like to do is, because that's why I said, when we think about people that are out there, there are going to be young people out there. There are going to be people that are older that are trying to figure it out. And sometimes they like to identify with somebody. So when I say pull up, I want them to be able to see something in themselves. Certainly. So, we're average, normal people. Tell us who Angel is and how she became all that. Take us from the beginning.
Well, as you just said, we're average, normal people. And that's how I view myself. But I think that the difference with me is I have what some would call delusional faith. And so you add that extra to your ordinary that, your faith, brings to you. And then you're allowed to see just a sudden change in some of the things and opportunities that come your way. And that's been my journey. And so just even from a small girl, I didn't get the chance to ever be shy. My parents put me in everything imaginable. Right. I was in ballet. I was in choir. I was a Girl Scout. I was in Fort Wayne Children's Choir. I was in theater. I was in sports. And even when I was 4 years old, there was a history maker here in Fort Wayne that if you're from this area, his name was Al Stiles, and he had performed at Apollo in the 70s, and he had started a talent factory here in town. It was right near Indiana Tech years and years ago. He's since passed on, but he was such a inspiration to so many people to have someone from Fort Wayne perform at Apollo and then come back and share his talents. And I just kind of was so inspired by that blueprint. And my parents put me in his talent program. And so 3 years old, I was on stage and I was, performing and I was just in front of people. So as I mentioned, I just didn't get the chance to ever be shy or timid. And that allowed me the opportunity to always just be bold and courageous and just live in expectancy. My parents were great at making sure I was exposed from a travel perspective, from a culture perspective, food, activities, so that I could really narrow down what it was that I was interested in and passionate about, and then take that to another level.
So you talked about your parents and family.
Yes.
And people that know me know this. When they pull up, they see that I like the Cosby Show, so I like family shows.
Yes.
I grew up on that. How important was your family in terms of all that? They obviously understood to expose you to that. How important was that for you in terms of your trajectory?
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because we were, in our community, we were kind of like the Cosby Show, the Cosby family to a certain extent. I was Rudy, but
So you had a character.
Yes, very much so. Yes, my sister was Denise.
Okay, all right.
But we were, my mom was a nurse. She had been a nurse for over 46 years, and my dad retired from General Motors. So, blue collar, but they had this powerful dynamic that really inspired people in the community and in the city. And my mom being a NICU nurse in particular, when it came to neonatal ICU care for infants and babies and moms, and even segueing into her initiatives for sickle cell anemia and some of the things that she championed, even being a Samaritan flight nurse. She was one of the first and only, at that time, minority African-American woman to have her flight wings on the Samaritan, which is an emergency rescue helicopter.
So hold on. It's a pull-up moment.
Yeah.
You have a black woman.
Yes.
Who is working at the hospital and is making moves on her own, a leader.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's what when I say pull-up moment, is for people to understand and see what's possible. Awesome. Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Pull-up moment.
And so that was my framework, watching my mom be this real life superhero for people. I mean, I remember we would be at dinners and people would come over to our table like, oh my gosh, my daughter, almost didn't make it if it wasn't for you. And just people stopping me in the mall. Your mom saved my life, my baby's life. And it was just, that was like the narrative that I had, throughout my upbringing. And so seeing my mom in this light as this, person that cared so much and served so many people and made an impact on so many lives. It just, you have no choice, I think, but to, kind of mirror that. She looks like, I look like her. A lot of people would always say, you look just like your mom. She was chocolate tall, 5'11", powerhouse woman. And my dad was just this amazing, supportive, tall, 6'2", beautiful man who did anything and everything for his family. And so that was another observation from my youth, was that my family was really family centric. Like we went on vacations. We, went to my grandmother's house for Sunday dinners. We did a lot as a unit. And so there wasn't a lot of outside influence when it came to my parents and their marriage and watching them love one another and be best friends and dress alike when they went to the Legion. It was Legion. Just the Legion. Okay. Yes.
The Legion.
For Fort Wayne, yes.
Some of y'all that pulled up right now, y'all know what the Legion is. Okay.
Yes, the American Legion,
the American Legion.
So watching them just, really do at that time what was kind of a rarity, I think, in a lot of urban communities. It inspired me to really just charge forward and become, even more supernatural in whatever my pursuits would be.
Right. And when you say, obviously, I would assume that being in the Midwest, and understanding what this community is, but understand the Midwest period, that community was probably looks a little bit different now. Middle class families that look like you, that were there, that were working. And so what we don't see now, I think when you said rarity, is what we don't see. But there's a lot of that takes place, and you happen to be in a neighborhood where that's what it was. But you also talk about that they you said this, and I thought that was powerful. You said that it was like a protection. So there wasn't room for any of the external things that may be out there. And I'm going to assume that you grew up in the 80s and the 90s where it was fun outside, being outside.
Yes.
But during those times, it was also a challenging time. And you're saying that went on in your home protected you. So then what kind of things that were you involved in to protect you? What kind of intentionality that was happening?
I think my parents in particular, and they got a lot of backlash for this back in the 80s, was they put me and my sister in parochial school. So we went to Lutheran school. And, at that time, they had moved to the southeast side of town, which at that time, like you mentioned, was a flourishing town for flourishing part of town for very successful people.
Sure.
We were one of the first minority families on our street. And then over time, it started to become kind of this hub for Black elite families. And, that was just kind of the blueprint that was laid. And so I think the protection was moving us to an area that they felt would expose us to things. We were able to just see things from a different lens,
Sure.
and I think also being in a private school setting, a Lutheran school setting in particular, has its pros and cons. I think one of the pros was it allowed us to to really lean into our faith and be vocal about our faith. And we were at church, and my dad was an usher at our Lutheran church, and that was a big part of who we were. And every Sunday we were, having Sunday dinner or going to church, or, and so that just became all we knew. And those opportunities to kind of dictate the environments that we were in was my mom. And I think I picked up on that tremendously as a parent myself, in navigating some of my children and being very intentional with those outcomes for them as well.
So, your son, obviously, and we're going to talk about that, but this foundation you just laid out.
Yes.
So now we got the foundation. This family, very intentional. I would say the fabric of the community in terms of what it represented, the character, but execution. Now, Angel is at school. There's people out there right now, young girls that look like you that are out there right now that want to know what that blueprint is. What's that recipe? What helped you in terms of what activities were you involved in? What did they do for you?
I was involved in, as I mentioned earlier, anything you can think of. There were plenty of programs within our community targeting minority students, exposing them, the Black College Club, exposing us to different HBCUs and opportunities for college and college prep. And of course, I was at Concordia Lutheran High School, which is extremely academically rigorous. And so I was always kind of in settings that challenged me. My mom would make sure I was in settings that challenged me. And so I was captain of my cheer team. I was in Key Club. I was in French Club. I got the opportunity when I was 16 to go do an immersion experience in Europe. Okay. So I spent time in London and in France. And that really, at that young age, at 16, being able to have a global perspective or an international perspective, it shifted what was possible, I think, for me. I think at that time I was thinking, I'll go to Purdue and I'll do this and that and boiler up. I did go to Purdue, but I ended up coming back home to finish out my studies because I became a mom. But I think it did ultimately open my eyes to that there is so much world out there. There's so many perspectives, so many people to get to know, so many things to experience. So it kind of taught me not to sweat the small stuff. And I carry that with me, in everything that I do. And I remember particularly one moment in 5th grade, we had the DARE program. You remember the DARE program? Yeah. So we had...
What did it stand for?
Drug abuse, drug awareness, resistance.
I don't know.
Education, something.
Something, but the DARE program.
Anyway, the DARE program. Yes.
It was a partnership.
80s babies know the DARE program.
Partnership with the schools, I believe, and the police department.
Yes, correct. And so we had a beautiful chocolate police officer by the name of Tracy Davis. She came and she was our DARE officer. And she came and she always had her hair done and she was just so fly and so fresh. And I love her to this day. But I remember she came in and it was one particular lesson that she was teaching us. And she gave us this phrase, and it was a phrase of all 2-letter words. And that phrase was, "If it is to be, it is up to me." And she wrote it on the board, and I remember it vividly, like it was yesterday. And that really kind of just lends itself to the accountability for where you end up. If it is to be, it's up to me, So I have to take control of the narrative. I have to be intentional with what I'm speaking over myself, who I'm surrounding myself with, who I allow to speak into my life. And I kind of adopted that really young. I had a lot of people around me, but I don't think I had a lot of friends in particular throughout my life. So, and I just watched my parents navigate and really focus in on family. And so I never really... was swayed by people's influences or thoughts of me.
Okay. So you was your own person. And a lot of that's why we talked a lot about your foundation. It's so important. It's so critical to be intentional in what you're doing. So you mentioned mom. So now here's what we got. We got now this Purdue, and I think you went to Indiana Tech where you were cheerleader. Yes. Very active there. And now, you go to college, you finish up, got your son, Angel now. Let's talk about Angel then. Post college, and talk about the journalism. Talk about the everything that has made you who you are today. The execution of all that stuff.
Well, just to pop back for anyone that is, a young parent, I just kind of want to address that season of my life, because it did shape and frame me. So I remember bringing my son to lectures with me. I remember classmates of mine, saying, well, I'll take him to the gym and we'll, play basketball while you go to, your engineering classes. And so I think that a lot of people would have stopped dreaming to a certain extent when life throws you, a beautiful but unexpected blessing sometimes. And I just challenge those that may have that story to not stop, to make it even more of an accelerant when you have these young eyes on you that are like, okay, Mom, what are we doing? And so that for me was what it was. It propelled me in a different way, and it gave me a new and renewed purpose. And so fresh out of college, my first career opportunity was with the NBC ABC affiliate here in the marketplace, 21 Alive. So I worked there, and I had an on-air vignette called On the Scene. So I would go around to different businesses.
What's the age right now? What we're talking about?
This is, early 20s.
Early 20s.
Yes.
And so about 23,
yes.
24. Okay, so go ahead. Talk
yes.
about that.
So I'm, working in the TV station in the broadcast journalism world, and really getting my feet under me in the communication space, and on camera, able to have this amazing and fun opportunity in journalism, which at that time hadn't been really introduced. Either you were behind the news desk or you were an out in the field reporter. But I had this kind of lifestyle little caveat that I was able to create. And so it was fun. I had the opportunity to interview executives at Sweetwater when they had built their brand new multi-million-dollar facility right here in the heart of Fort Wayne, which is a globally recognized company. And, it was just a fun opportunity to do journalism in a new way on my own terms.
So that was probably the start. When I use the word illuminate, that's what I've seen. Like when you were on the radio when I got here, and what you offered in terms of your personality and your show was you illuminate things. And so you said that when Sweetwater got here, that was one of the things that you were able to do. So
certainly.
There's that illumination taking place right then.
Yes. And that extra to that ordinary, right. God is just always going to okay, I see you doing the work, so let me add a little extra onto what you're doing. And there's opportunities and situations I've been in that I know are not from my own merit. I know I'm good, but I'm not that good. Right. When you have Netflix reaching out and you have different opportunities coming your way, and MTV and NFL and BET and the things that my journey has led me into, I could not have written that myself, so I know that there's an author beyond me that is like.
You realize you just, for the people out there, I was trying to wait to get to this, but you did hear her say the BET, the Netflix, and all the different things nationally, globally that you've been a part of.
Yes.
So you started with this vignette here locally,
yes.
doing this here locally. Then what did that jump into post that?
So that was an opportunity. Even my parents, they were so proud. As a parent, all you want to do is get your baby to a place where they got benefits, where they can, they can coast for a little bit. Right. And so about 4 years into that particular opportunity, I went to my parents and I said, I think I want to do my own thing. I think I want to start my own company. And, being traditional Black parents, they're like, girl, don't you leave those benefits. Like, you better hold tight, know. And so, but I always feel like I am challenged to bet on myself. And so I left Indiana's News Center, 21 Alive at that time, and I started Halo Media Inc., which was my first venture, marketing media firm. And so I was able to kind of partner with some of the sports entities in town that have done great things. You mentioned AWP earlier, Athletes with Purpose, which was founded by Mike Lito, which was a huge
groundbreaking thing.
It was.
Here. Coming here and seeing that was awesome, and that was huge.
Yes.
It was owned by a
minority Black male,
African American Black man.
Yes.
And so it was huge. So go ahead.
And that was just, it was so inspirational to see, these entrepreneurs creating a narrative and carving out a lane that hadn't been really defined here. And so for Mike, it was sports performance.
Right.
So. And to see the output of that, you have a Jalen Smith, you have a Jesse Bates, you have Ben Skoranek. You have all of these NFL players currently that were just little boys, driving after school to come in and warm up and get their training in and do their footwork and all of that. And so he had a formula that really worked.
So how did you come into Illuminate?
So I came in as the marketing strategist to help kind of shape the messaging, the narrative, and there was a great opportunity. We were able to work with Parkview to really catalyze that business model, and then also prior to that, working with Always 100 Basketball, that was an opportunity to really bring a youth sports program that also has national presence, has sent plenty of young ladies to college, and Bernard Hollins, yes. And so that was an amazing experience for me to really take some of the things that God has poured into me and just pour them back into my community. And I mean, those opportunities were spearheaded by tremendous minds.
That's right.
And I take nothing away from those, those men, and I was able to come alongside them and help just, fine tune or sharpen or execute things for them in ways that just add that little halo effect to it.
And let's be clear, AWP, Mike Lieto,
yes,
and Bernard Hollins with Always 100. I mean, those are huge national brand programs. Those guys, in terms of what they've been involved in, and that's great that you said that. Like, you had your piece in that collaboration piece to have a collective impact. So that's just so huge. So now you've done this here locally. Talk to us about this Netflix and everything else, and then I want to get into the radio personality.
Actually, the radio was the catalyst for Netflix.
Talk about it.
Yeah, so it was around 2013. 2013, I was hosting networking mixers for entrepreneurs and seasoned professionals. And so they were called the Halo Effect Mixers. And I would host them at different prominent restaurants and locations around town, and had great partnerships with places like Club Soda and Main Street used to be a spot downtown. And it was just an opportunity because I come from the lens of, if it doesn't exist, it's up to you to create it. And so if there's ever a desire.
That's a pull-up moment. And that's actually I like that. I'm going to steal that. Say that again.
If it doesn't exist, it's up to you to create it. If you have the desire for something, you're like, it would be so cool if. Yeah. And whatever follows that phrase, if it doesn't exist, that was put on your spirit for you to initiate and take advantage of making that a reality. And so I was sitting as a young entrepreneur, left the TV station, right? My parents were like, okay,
pull up moment. You trusted your dreams.
I did.
And just went in. You're working at this news station is a very
the number one news station in the market.
Go ahead and step out. So go ahead.
Yes. So I left that and started my own company. YouTube University was my best friend. Google and I were glued to the hip as I'm figuring out how to incorporate my business, which tax structure should I mean, all of these things back then, when I first established my company in 2008, there weren't just these ready-made platforms that you can just go and pop your numbers in, and now you got an LLC, cranked out. And so I was really I felt like I was on an island by myself. And so I was like, you know what? I wish there was a network or an opportunity each month to just connect with like-minded people. And you know me, I'm like, okay, well, here we go. So that was the onset of the Halo Effect Mixers, where people would come together. It was a ticketed event. We would have hors d'oeuvres and cocktails and just talk about things like, why did you go S Corp as opposed to LLC? Or when did you know you needed a CPA, an accountant for your business? And what did that look like? And, when it comes to P&L statements, really talk about not just the fluff of business, not just here's my card, let's connect, but let's talk about the structure, the foundation, making sure you're in position for grants, making sure, you're leveraging your business funding the right way. And so that was an amazing experience for me to just introduce something new to the market. And that led to an opportunity that I was on the Steve Harvey show. And from there, the radio station reached out to me and asked if I would be open to doing a show every Saturday night. And I was like, okay, cool. It wasn't on my...
It was local radio.
Yes, yes. Yep, the local R&B station.
Which is a commercial station. This is not
Yes, this is major radio.
Right.
Yes. And so they offered me Saturday nights, and, no one really listens to the radio on Saturday night. So I'm like, okay, cool. This will be fun. I'm able to, kind of stretch in a new way and get back into that world of media that was my foundation. And so I took it on, and, shout out to Big Keese. He was an amazing and integral part. Shout out to Woody Woods. Like, a lot of the pillars in radio and in the community were a part of me kind of becoming a radio personality. And my show went #1 on Saturday nights. And then they approached me and asked would I be open to doing middays right after the Tom Joyner morning show. And so to go from not being in radio at all to after, the fly jock, like
that's the man. That's
yes.
the godfather of radio.
Yes. So the pressure was on, and it was a sink or swim kind of situation. Nobody came and gave me a play-by-play of here's how you run the board and this is what you do. And you have to figure it out in radio. And so I did. And, in my experience in being in the radio station, actually, Keith was like, Angel, there's a show you need to watch. He was like, you need to watch this show. There's a girl on there that reminds me of you. And I'm like, okay. He's like, it's on Netflix. It's called Dear White People. So I'm like, okay. So I watched the show.
Let's see where this goes.
Yeah, I know. I was like, okay, the show is called Dear White People. But I'm like, okay. So I watched the show, and there's a character. Her name is Coco.
Okay.
And she has a really similar storyline to me, being one of the only minorities at her school, parochial school girl, bougie, prissy girl, whatever. And so I watched the show. I enjoyed the show, and I happened to tweet about the show. I said, I just watched Dear White People, and it completely shifted based on the title and what the content was. It shifted my perspective because I was like, I don't know if this show is just going to be very racially charged or whatever. And so I posted that, and Netflix DM'd me. And I tagged Netflix in the post, of course, because it was a Netflix show. And they DM'd me, and they're like, hey, thank you for sharing your feedback on our show. And I'm thinking this is a scam. I'm like, this is not real. This is, I'm clicking it. It's going to the real page. I'm clicking it. I'm like, this is a bot or something is going on. And so the next thing I know, they were inviting me to share my commentary on their shows in New York. They all expenses paid, took me and flew me to New York with the cast of Orange is the New Black, Spike Lee, Ava DuVernay, and the cast of Dear White People. And so in that experience, it was just, again, adding that extra to my ordinary. Like, I'm just watching the show, posting a tweet, but that then also leveraged for me the power of social media.
Sure.
And that has been a part of my marketing strategy from that point on. So,
and we're going to go back to this word I use, illuminate. It all started, though, with you doing this station that came here, and you're trying to do these things to illuminate the community. You talk about, you have this power thing that you were doing, these networking events, all to really illuminate the community. You're just following, God's plan, so to speak. And in that, these extraordinary, but see, you have these events that you're doing that were extraordinary, and then now more and more things are happening for you, and now you have this national exposure. So now you got to come back here and do this radio thing. Where does this go now for radio now?
So for radio, we were able to bring Tom Joyner to do a live recording in our studio. It was his final season of the show. And so to have a radio pioneer like Tom Joyner and his morning show co-host in our studio, and to be able to witness that level of greatness, we gave him a key to the city. We hosted a meet and greet for the community. I spearheaded all of that and really just wanted to make sure that I was able to honor that legacy of Tom Joyner in such a special way.
Let's go back, because I think it's important for people to know, you not only did you do that, what is it called? The African American
Healthcare Alliance.
Healthcare Alliance. You came up with that in terms of the Healthcare Minute.
The Medical Minute.
Yes. That was done. You created that. I just want people to understand this whole community link in terms of what you're doing, and how this then connects to now you're doing this with Tom Joyner. And then what's next?
So the Medical Minute, I'm so glad you brought that up. That was such a great partnership between the African American Healthcare Alliance, which is an amazing organization of medical professionals, minority medical professionals, particularly in our community. And they have been around for many years, and they host an annual event that just allows the upper echelon kind of, you really, I've been going to that ball since I was a little girl. And I remember being in those rooms and seeing these Black professionals. And I think that symbolism is so important that our young kids see, what Black excellence looks like. And so that for me was a great partnership with Parkview, the African American Healthcare Alliance, and Adams Radio Group at that time to
illuminating once again. Listen, you're taking these things as a girl that you were seeing in your home, and then you're able to now give back by making these connections using the platforms that you were blessed with. And so now you give that to there, and because of all of those ideas and that greatness and how you pulled up, now there's another opportunity to do it bigger.
Yes. So I got the opportunity to have a radio show in Florida. Florida came knocking, and I was just like, it's always you're at a fork in the road when major opportunities come your way. And a lot of people are like, you're good. You got a great radio show. You have this love from your community. You're a homeowner. You've got all these things working for you. You living nice. You driving fly. You're looking good. Why go into the unknown? And so I was really conflicted about it. Like, what do I do? Do I take this opportunity and not know what lies on the other side, or do I just stay where I'm good? I'm coasting. I'm cool. And the way the Holy Spirit handles me, it wasn't even an option to stay. I had to go, because I found that if you try to stay in boxes that you've been released from, it will take pain for you to leave. And so if you hold too tightly to something.
We had like 4 pull-up moments. Say that again. That's a pull-up moment, by the way. Go ahead, say that again.
Yeah, you can't stay in boxes that you've been released from, because you'll outgrow them, and it will become painful. Right. And that will be the catalyst for you leaving. So instead of exiting when it was free and clear, now you held on too tightly to something that you've been, asked to release. And you have to be open-handed when you're really operating in the faith realm. And so I was like, okay, I know you got me, whatever this looks like. And so I moved to West Palm Beach, Florida. Yes.
How long were you there? And what was your, if you don't mind, we're not going to get anybody in trouble by saying, what station were you?
Yeah, so I was on X102.3, R&B station in the heart of Palm Beach, Florida. And, being from Indiana, having a little bit of a Midwest twang, Florida is a very challenging market to permeate. If you're not Caribbean, if you're not Latina, if you're not from that area, it can be really hard for them to embrace you. And so I knew that going into it. And I was very intentional about being amongst the people. So I would go to every station event we had, even if it was for, another colleague or another station group, another station within our group. Exactly. Right. That visibility. And, I was blessed. Like it was supernatural the way that Florida came to me, because I was able to live in downtown West Palm Beach.
Being exposed to a bunch of different things, a different type of life. And how does that then get into, because I'm going to say something here that you created now, because we got to talk about the creator side too, because you're still doing this. So
yes,
Tesla, HVs and all that. Talk about why that is, where did that come into play?
So Black Girls with Teslas is a EV enthusiast group that I founded in 2020 during the pandemic. I was in Florida, lived in Palm Beach, like I mentioned, and I saw these EVs everywhere, which in Indiana, I hadn't really, the EV movement hadn't really picked up here. So when I got to Florida, I'm like, this is so cool. And for those that don't know, I studied engineering and business. I was a double major in school. And so there's always this techie side of me that's always like, the radar is up. And so as I started to see these vehicles, I started to do my research. And of course, this is 2020, just as a disclaimer. Right. This is pre some of the political shenanigans that the brand has absorbed. From its leadership.
But talk about but what you created. Though.
Yes.
And what did it do, and how did that happen?
So I purchased my Tesla. I was a beautiful red car, and I was so excited because I was in a position that I was able to go and purchase my vehicle in cash. And I only say that not to flex, but because as an entrepreneur and a single mother, or a mother that was single, I wanted to be insulated. So as an entrepreneur, good times and bad times. It ebbs and flows. Sometimes you have a windfall of clients and income and revenue and things like that. And sometimes it's crickets. And so as I ebbed and flowed as an entrepreneur over the years, when I would get major contracts, I would in one fell swoop take care of major responsibilities.
While you're on the radio,
yes,
doing your radio thing. And by the way, we have to mention your mother. You got your son,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And you have a daughter.
Yes. So right. I have my son at that time, his dream was to go to Florida State University. And being in Indiana, I was like, that out-of-state tuition, I don't know how we're going to make that happen. But God had another plan. And so I ended up moving to West Palm my son's senior year of high school. Wow. And so I maintained my residence in Indiana. My children were well taken care of, and my sister and everybody stepped up to help me make that dream a reality. But I was able to allow my son the opportunity to go to and graduate from Florida State University debt-free while I put things in position for him in Florida. And so my daughter, we ended up moving to Florida. She ended up going to a blue ribbon school in Florida, having an amazing experience to just see the world through a different lens. And Black Girls with Teslas became this national movement that now we're at about over 8,000 women in our private community nationwide. We have chapters in major markets. So Atlanta is a big Black Girls with Teslas chapter. And they host meetups and the ladies connect. Our motto is not only do our cars charge them, but connect, but so do we. So they'll go and they'll take pictures in front of the superchargers, and then they'll go have brunch or go have lunch. And it's just this connectivity in community that really is founded on sustainability.
Sure.
And, taking care of our planet and our environment. And that was really the motivation for founding Black Girls with Teslas, was I was just looking for community because the brand itself was not created with me in mind.
Listen, for folks out there, everything that you just heard, it's hard to bring all that. We can have like 3 shows, and probably a master class, and thinking about some of the things you've done. Here we have someone who from the start, this strong family, right, that was breaking barriers from the time of integrating a neighborhood, but also seeing this these middle-class Black families in a neighborhood create things, and you were able to see that. But then someone who saw themselves as a Rudy Huxtable growing up was put in all these things. You were able to execute, be a part of local businesses that then began to flourish. You yourself was able to do all these things. A mom. You're doing all of that. And then you get exposed to all these Netflix and all these national brands, but you're creating at the same time. You're still working for people, but you also have your own thing going on. Then you create Black Girls with Tesla. You're out here in a major market in Florida doing all these huge things. The thing that I want that is so critical in this, particularly during this time, you mentioned dream like 5 times. And you're not afraid to dream.
Yeah.
And the importance of that. So now you got all that, Angel. And, the halo effect, halo media. I wrote all this stuff down here. and now, and I want people to know this, she hosts a radio show on 89.1 WBOI.
The NPR affiliate. Yeah.
Huge show and all that. So I want to give you the last few minutes here to really talk about what is Angel doing now. And I know how important it is for you to feed into others, because I watch her movies on social media, and I did some movies. Got to see, she's a social media avant. She's savant. She's really good.
Thank you.
But seriously, tell people, because I know you like to inspire people. So wrap that up to me in terms of what the radio show, everything that you're doing now, and what it means, and what you're trying to do now to inspire others. And I want you to shout out and brag about your kids too.
Yeah, that is my energy source. My children. I actually posted the other day a question that if your child followed exactly the blueprint that you've created, that you've become, would you be proud? So if your ceiling for your child was your own realization, would you be proud? Or would that be a reminder to get back to work? And so as I look at my daughter, particularly my son is thriving. He, is doing very well in his career. And so am I living what I'm sharing with my daughter every day when she gets out of the car for school drop off. I'm telling her, have an amazing day, be amazing, keep shining, all of these, affirmations. If I'm not living that, children become what they see, not what they hear. And so I have to continue to show her, which has its flaws, because when you have parents that are doing supernatural things, it becomes normal to them. But that doesn't stop me from continuing to push forward. But I will say, for the dream chasers, when you're en route to your destiny, you will be disliked. There's no one that has done supernatural things, great things. I mean, we have significant amounts of talent, more than we've ever seen before. And I mean, our foundation in music, in culture, in theater, in entrepreneurship, has been supernatural. Dynamic is what our culture comes from. And so, but you have to be okay with being disliked. You have to be okay with being misunderstood. People are going to, say, oh, I've had people say, oh, you do too much. Is it that I do too much, or you just don't do enough? And so I've reframed when people try to come at me and say, oh, she just all over the place. Well, what is it that you really do? A lot of people have no clue. They just know I'm out here. Like, well, I don't even know what she really does. And I always say, those that need to know.
Sure.
And so when it comes to my clients, when it comes to, even working in public housing and some of the things that I've been able to do with nonprofits locally, sitting on boards, being on the Girl Scout board and things like that. If you need to know what Angel does, you'll know, if it's meant for you to know. But I just want to leave with the reminder that you can't be afraid to be, disliked. And sometimes God wants you in seasons of isolation so he can catapult you. So that is something that I just always lean into. It's like, okay, I'm by myself. Okay, God, where are we going now? And there's this analogy of like a slingshot. And so with every season of being catapulted, there comes a season where God will have to stretch you back and pull you back. And so that's where
Pull up. The slingshot.
Yes.
I was a Flintstone guy back in the day. I used to watch the Flintstones, and they had that weapon where you had the slingshot. And you just said that God sometimes will put you and pull you back again.
Yes.
But now the shot's going to be a lot higher.
Even further. Yes.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's amazing. I mean, you out of all the shows now, you've had the most pull-up moments. I want to tell you that. So not only we can add that to your list of things that you want. So, listen, I got two more. I just want one real quick.
Okay.
I want the people to know, where can they find you at right now? Because you said clients. What's important, because I want to make sure people know this, that you're still illuminating people and businesses.
Yes.
So talk to people about, first, with the radio show, and also where they can find you at and what you do in terms of helping people illuminate.
Okay. So my radio show is The Halo Effect every Saturday night. It's an amazing opportunity to have this kind of juxtaposition of old school R&B and new school interpretation. So I'm an R&B head. My parents, used to dance in the kitchen to LTD Love Ballad. Like R&B is in the core of who I am. And so it's just an amazing opportunity to bring a diverse sound to NPR. And shout out to Travis Pope. He believed in my, in my pitch, my show pitch, and it's been highly successful. We'll be doing some expansion things soon with the show. But so you can tune in, WBOI FM. You can download the free app and tune in every Saturday night, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern, and catch the Halo Effect. Just come vibe with me. It's just a really nostalgic kind of energy. And then for
great
business,
show, by the way. Great
thank
show.
you, thank you so much. And then for business, I have my own strategic marketing firm called Suttle Strategies. So you can find us at SuttleStrategies.com. Of course, we're on every business platform: LinkedIn, Facebook. You can find us pretty much anywhere. But that has been for me an opportunity to just connect in a way and pour myself into other people's visions. I think for me is so important that I'm able to be a vessel and serve in that way for other people. And sometimes it doesn't always land me in the best situations. I sometimes give to a fault, but
That's part of it, though, right?
It is. It is. It's a part of it. And it has come back to me tenfold every time, not maybe directly through that particular client, but I can't deny that God has something special always on the other side of things for me. Good. So, yeah, SuttleStrategies.com. You can follow me, Angel Suttle, on socials and check out those movies.
Movies, soundtracks, movies.
It's reels,
It's to the umpteenth degrees. So, Angel, thank you for pulling up. But one last question.
Okay.
Because you're a leader, but we call you're a servant leader, right? Entrepreneur. You do a whole bunch of things, but every good leader must have a theme song. So you're a person of music.
Yes.
What would that one theme song be? Or what is it today, or what is it? Period. That would be the story of your life in terms of what you put on.
I think it's changed throughout different seasons of my life. I think in this current season, if I have to timestamp this moment or benchmark this moment with a song, whenever I'm heading to Cambridge to do my on-campus intensives at Harvard, which for me I had to really kind of overcome some imposter syndrome a little bit, because though I'm sharp, I'm here amongst global minds, sure. at Harvard. So I pregame for my classes with Beyonce Diva. And so that charges me up, just reminds me, you walk in with your head held high. You walk in knowing who it is that you are. You carry the essence of your mother and your grandmother. You are your grandmother's answered prayers. You come as one, but you stand on the shoulders of 10,000, as Maya Angelou would say. And so that for me is a song that it just reminds me, be the diva that they see you to be. Step in, step up, and show out.
Wow. And yes, we did say Harvard student. So thank you, Angel, for pulling up.
Thank you.
And not just pulling up, telling your story. I like how you ended, because you talked about the shoulders of the folks that you stand in front of. And I think in this moment, that's what the pull-up is all about. It's about telling stories that we don't normally hear or we don't celebrate. And normally we don't talk about the generations before us and what we stand on. So thank you for pulling up.
Thank you for having me.
And folks, you got to follow her and watch the movies that she's produced on social media. It's a good place. So
Reels will get you monetized on social media, by the way.
All right. Well, hey, listen, folks, thank you for pulling up today. And again, follow Angel. I want to thank her for pulling up on us today. And look, the pull up is all about what you heard today. It's about pulling up on your dreams and making those things happen. We hope that if one person was inspired, if it stimulated something about you, then it works, okay? So listen, come pull up with us. We're going to be here. We're going to be launching new shows, new content all across social media, and all across, wherever you get your podcasts at. So we want to make sure that we continue to do that. But before I go, I want to do something I think is really important here. I watched a Romper Room growing up. So I want to make sure I shout out people. I used to love when they say my name. So I'm going to do something really special here. Just shout out some names. They can be your name and whatever, but it's to hear your name. I'm going to use the word illuminate. So I want to say Tim, Alonzo, Ricky, Laura, Letitia, Jessica, and Pam. And Jessica and Pam were two people that I went to school with right now that are challenged with some health challenges right now, but they're big-time social media people. They appreciate life. So shout out to them, and thank you for pulling up with me and my guest today, Angel Suttle. Be well. Be good.